Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Buckeye Weekly Podcast. I am Tony Gerdeman, here as always with Tom or Tom. How's it going?
Tony, 1 week from Big Ten Media Days. College football is not here, but it's almost here. SEC Media Days this week. We got a bunch of listener questions to answer. It is a week full of college football content, and I think I speak for all of us when I say it's about time.
Yeah, it is about time. I've got the SEC First Day Media Days going on right now on the television. Mr. Brian Kelly talking about repeating as Big Ten West or SEC West champs, which I think maybe, I don't know if people remember that. I've kind of forgotten about it, even though they are my pick, Tom, for this year, perhaps. Maybe. I don't know. But maybe.
Yeah, it's what's interesting is that first week. Last year, it was the LSU-Florida State game, and it was like, wow, this is a great helmet game, but I don't know how impactful it's going to be in the national picture, big picture for the season. And this year, both of those teams are supposed to be so much better that all of a sudden that feels like this monster game this year. And we can only hope that it comes down to a blocked PAT once again.
That's the best kind of ending. But Tom, enough about endings. Let's talk about beginnings.
Let's talk about a question involving Pat Fitzgerald, which actually would have been a much smoother transition, but that's okay. First question from at CCSTRA, CCStra54, Big Ten coaches as social media platforms. Fitz is MySpace, right? Tony, I think Pat Fitzgerald maybe peaked around the same time as MySpace, roughly, but I don't know. Who is Pat Fitzgerald? I mean, given the current trends on Twitter, it feels like we might be 3 months away from Pat Fitzgerald being Twitter.
Well, ooh, yeah. No, I think MySpace is, it's out of sight, out of mind, so maybe that fits. I think, Tom, Mel Tucker is Snapchat because proof of what you've done disappears like within 24 hours. And it goes away and it's never to be seen again. So I think that would be fitting. I think Brett Bielema is kind of like Instagram because it's just, I just imagine pictures of vacation and food. And that's just what he is. Like PJ Fleck is TikTok because it's kind of short and it's bursts of manic things. And he might be a Chinese spy. So there's that. I do think Luke Fickell, another one, I think he is Threads. He's trying to appear hip to the kids, but he's just Facebook. So, he's got his, his skateboard on and he's like, how you doing, fellow Facebookers? That's him as Threads.
Yeah. I think Kirk Ferentz is actual Facebook because he, again, traces back to the 2000s, worth just an incomprehensible amount of money. And it's like, but why? What exactly? And I think the second Greg Schiano Rutgers tenure is Google Plus, where there was this immediate like, oh man, look who's stepping back in the arena. And then 3 months later, it was like, oh yeah, he's still around. I forgot about that. I forgot about the 1 week when everyone was excited about that. That's not really a thing anymore. That feels kind of a little like the Greg Schiano era is trending at Rutgers right now.
I do. I agreed that Kirk Ferentz was also Facebook, and I wrote down that he is easily duped by Photoshop. Just like most people on Facebook.
Yeah, he is. His reach has not been very good on offense for the last decade or so either, due to family, due to problematic family issues. So yeah, I think that's a very good one. I was just trying to think back through like some of the other ones, Friendster, where it's like, oh, that seemed like that was going to be a thing for a little bit, and then very much was not immediately. That maybe Friendster is like Tom Allen, where it was like, oh, this is like he is about to have his oh nope, the moment's gone. All right, nope, all gone now.
Is the guy who takes over for Northwestern the interim coach? Is he Mastodon? And it's like, oh, but this is temporary. It's like, that's not really going to last. I do think Ryan Day, we know for sure, is not Blue Sky because there are no blue social platforms allowed in the Woody. And I think Jim Harbaugh isn't actually on social media. You can only find him, Tom, on anti-social media.
Jim Harbaugh is Bing. That's it. That's it. That's it. He's Bing. Next one from @ChileanStud11, clearly one of my burner accounts. This is like 5 questions in a row. We are going to break these up. We're going to do these one at a time. Which teams would you want the Big Ten to add to get to 20?
I think obviously the number one is Notre Dame. And then all of the other options for me, like outside of, if you're not going to say Florida State or Miami, everything else from Washington to Oregon to, Georgia Tech or North Carolina or Virginia, they're all somewhere in between Maryland and Nebraska in terms of wow factor. They're in there. Now, that being said, if they do go and add Washington and Oregon and North Carolina and somebody else, like it's going to be exciting because change is exciting. But I think there's Notre Dame and there's everybody else, there's varying amounts of, okay, I wouldn't, I'm looking forward to going and covering a game at Oregon or Washington, not Virginia.
No, not Virginia. I mean, Georgia Tech has sort of been in that conversation as well. And that's when we were down there for the Peach Bowl. I walked over to Bobby Dodd Stadium because it was kind of like, I need to do something to get outside and not be sitting in the media workroom for a while, and just walked over to the stadium. It's like, it's a nice, it's a nice campus. It's right downtown. It's a very easy walk from Centennial Park and the College Football Hall of Fame and all that kind of stuff. I think that's a spot that Ohio State fans would probably enjoy going down there. It's an easy flight. It's a nice, it's a nice downtown area. There's stuff to do. So I think that would probably be fun. I think the issue, I think you're looking at, if you're adding 4 more teams, because they have 16, including UCLA and USC, Notre Dame is number 1 on the list because it's a very logical fit. It's a very logical traditional rival for a number of schools. Geographically, the brand value is there. You're not going to lose money on adding Notre Dame. I am with you. I think Washington and Oregon would be fun additions. Those are trips I would like to make at some point. I was very bummed to not get to make the Oregon trip in 2020, although that was probably not the single greatest thing that was lost that year. But the issue you run into is if you add Notre Dame, if you add Washington, if you add Oregon, okay, now you're at 19. So whoever else you're adding out of the ACC type area is kind of almost like a one-off. It's just kind of, you're just adding North Carolina, you're just adding Virginia, you're just adding Georgia Tech. And I think that might be a little weird geographically, but I guess Virginia would fit best geographically there, but it also might be the least exciting of those teams. Do you think they just go to 20 or do they go to 18? Or it just feels like if you're going to 20 and you're going to add Notre Dame, then there's not, you're not going to be able to pair off a couple of the new additions the way you would have otherwise. So is it more likely, if they do add Notre Dame, is it more likely they just they go to 22 and they add North Carolina, Virginia, Georgia Tech, someone like that? Or do they, if they don't add Notre Dame, do they just stay at 18 and just add the 2 West Coast schools to pair off with USC, UCLA? I mean, what do you think? Because I could kind of see it going a couple different ways.
I think if they can get Notre Dame, then they can kind of afford to take a bit of a hit on Washington and Oregon. Because right now, Washington and Oregon coming in, they can't justify the loss of revenue to bring them in. But if you bring in Notre Dame, I think that kind of raises all boats a little bit and then allows some disbursement that you would have there for the other 2. But what if it's just, if it's just Notre Dame and you're not going to just go get one team from the West, I wouldn't think. So, if you keep it at 18, who is the 18th then? Is it, and how realistic is the ACC even in this mix right now? I think that's obviously the biggest question. I think that's the bigger question than Notre Dame, honestly.
Yeah, and I think an interesting thing there is when the Big Ten added Penn State, they just added 1, and then they had 11 teams. And they had 11 teams for, 1993 till 2014, so like 21 years. They had, till Nebraska. So it was 18 years in 2011. So 18 years, they operated with 11. If you're not doing divisions, you're not doing equal division of teams, you could theoretically have an odd number of teams, and with an odd number of teams, you're going to have one team that plays fewer games than others, or one team that plays more games than others in the conference. But you could probably make that work. But yeah, if you just add Notre Dame and you do add a second team, I mean, do you look at? I guess geographically, Virginia or North Carolina is kind of the most logical addition, because other ones that are kind of in this region, Pitt or West Virginia or Louisville, like none of those teams bring all that much to you. So, I know you've seen Syracuse mentioned over the years, and you've seen other schools, Colorado or whatever mentioned over the years. It feels like you're going to get, it feels like this whole conversation starts with Notre Dame. And if Notre Dame says no, then this branch of the conversation. If Notre Dame says yes, then it's a whole separate, like that's kind of decision point number one, is what is Notre Dame going to do? And then everything kind of goes from there.
And if Notre Dame's going to do nothing and you can't do anything with the ACC, then it becomes, okay, we're back to square one, where we've already said, let's hold off on Washington and Oregon. Although maybe they were holding off so that they could get another round of answers from everybody else. So,
and one of the other interesting parts of this is we don't know what the current Big 12 or Pac-12 TV contract is going to look like, and if that is not anywhere close to what they want it to be, well, that could make them a little more motivated to join the Big Ten, even if it means a little less money up front. All right, next one. Also, same question. Rank the best wings in Columbus, Tony. I don't know. Are you qualified to answer this question?
I believe I've heard that does Pizza Hut do wings? I think I've seen them at Domino's as well. So I'm guessing if I had to rank those two of the places, I don't know, alphabetically, Domino's comes first. So I'm going to say Domino's probably has the best wings in Columbus. Tom, is that correct?
I'm going to say generally, and I have not, I will confess I have not had Pizza Hut wings. I have not had Domino's wings. My general philosophy is if it's not a wing place, don't get wings there, because it's generally, you'll get the tiny, tiny, tiny wings, which, I find them lacking. When you've had better wings, not very good wings are just kind of lacking. I think my personal, the place we end up going a lot when we are around campus is Roosters. Roosters is always if you are not from Columbus, it's a chain, kind of central Ohio-ish chain. I think they're in a couple other states, but not far away. You may be familiar with Frickers, which is a sort of similar chain, crazy crap on the walls, all that kind of stuff. I do enjoy Roosters wings. I've also Wings Over Columbus. I have not had them in quite a while, but the last time I had them, those were quite good as well. There was one kind of near campus on West Lane Avenue. They had some good sauce choices, and generally, good meaty wings the last time I tried them. That's kind of what I'm looking for, is don't give me the wing that's, the size of my pinky finger. I'd like some actual meat on the wing bone. So that's those are my favorites, but I will absolutely admit there are plenty of places. This is a good Kevin Noon question, because there's probably some barbecue place I haven't been to that does like great smoked wings that I just haven't been to because I have kids and don't live in Columbus. So I'm gonna give you my two answers there, and also say, ask again when Kevin's around, and he may have a better answer.
There's like a Korean wings place as well that people have been talking about. So Google, try that.
And if you find yourself in lovely Granville, Ohio, Three Tigers Brewing is it is a brewery, but they also do Vietnamese food, and they do wings there, and they do Viet style wings, which is like they've got honey and mint on them. Those are pretty darn good as well. So if you ever find yourself in Licking County, that is a 2 thumbs up place from me. Tony, you live on the north side, so I feel like you are extremely qualified to answer this one. Rank the worst highways/roads to drive on in Columbus. And I guess, are we defining this as pavement surface or traffic or yes?
Yes. I just know like 315 north at from 415 to 530 from campus up to the north side it can be a nightmare. I will also say the years and years of college to even beyond, like traveling back up home, Northwest Ohio, and going up 23 on a Friday after work or after school through Delaware, all those lights up 23 is just, it was awful. And it was the only, really the only way to go to get home. And everybody was leaving. It seemed like everybody was heading back north, back in the day. And so that was a nightmare. It's still not great. I don't like going on 23 North when it's a Friday and everybody's getting out of town. And so I think those are my least favorite, but those are the ones I travel. Like I don't deal with the East Side stuff and the all of the stuff. I don't travel the East and the West. And I think I've been to this like South 270 South area, the South side of Columbus, maybe once in my life. So I don't know what's going on down there. But for me, those are the two that are bad.
I love the idea that a map of Columbus, everything south of like Interstate 70 is just Here Be Monsters on your map. That's wonderful. I will wholeheartedly agree. 23 North, hard pass. It is far better than it used to be because they have the trench now, and they've had that for, 5-10 years at this point. That has at least made that a little more tolerable. I have for 25 years now, I would say, just absolutely, I hate Sawmill Road. I hate it with such a passion. There's too many businesses, there's too many cars, there's too many people, there's too many everything. Constant traffic lights, you're always waiting. I'm 17th in the left turn lane. Like, no, just no. If I need something on Sawmill Road, I will find it somewhere else, or I will just go without. That has going back to the time I was in college. I don't particularly care for that. I have become less of a people/traffic/city person as I got older. C also moved to 30 miles east of Columbus, where there is much less of all of those things. So yeah, I have sat on 315 North plenty of times and gotten deeply irritated. I've sat on 670 East plenty of times and gotten deeply irritated. I have more or less figured out that I just need to adjust my work schedule around not sitting on those highways at those times of day when I go into Columbus. I do have kids who play hockey and ice skate, so we find ourselves at Chiller North or Chiller Easton or whatever, especially during the summer when our rink is closed. So sometimes it's unavoidable, but yeah, those are definitely the no thank you spots for me. And also pretty much the entire drive to Indianapolis, because every time we do that, it is always terrible, and it is always under construction, and somehow they've been doing it for 40 years and it never ends. I don't care for it.
It's the Winchester Mansion of highways, basically, and you keep building onto it because you're trying to distract the ghosts of I-70.
Yeah, it is. That's a no thank you. It's like, how long should this drive take? Well, how long should it take, or how long will it take? Because and if you've not been to Indianapolis in a while, they were basically like closed. The whole highway downtown was closed for multiple years, and I don't know if it's open yet. And can't wait to find out next week. Should be a blast. Next one, which OSU beat writer could you beat in a one-on-one fist fight? Tony, I guess my question here is Kevin Noon an OSU beat writer?
It is always interesting to me. We get these kinds of questions quite a bit, and they just want to see, some people just want to see media people fight. And clearly that's what you want. So just tell us who you would like us to punch, and we'll see them at some point. And although I do have a concern, Tom, as we're doing one of these live shows, at some point we'll get a super chat for like $50, like punch Kevin in the face. Like, well, it's a super chat.
It is a super chat.
I mean, got to give the people what they want.
I don't make the rules. Yeah, I was trying to think, who would be like the surprising person you wouldn't want to fight? Like, I don't think I'd want to fight Tim May. Tim May seems like he seems like the kind of person you don't want to mess with. He's the nicest human being on earth, and I don't think I would want to mess with Tim May. It feels like you might turn into the Hulk or something. Like he's got that East Texas, like, I've been in places that aren't great before and know how to handle myself.
Yeah, he's got that sneaky Texas strength, that by way, also some Alabama strength in there. He's a horse guy, so he can handle himself. So I'm not going to mess with Tim. it's like, who would, I guess, what if we were to ask this question of, of other media people, or like, who would we like to see fight? Something like that. And I don't want to name any names, but, I'm pretty much, as casting aspersions, like, why do people want to see media people fight? And I'm thinking, man, I would love to see a bunch of people start just fighting. We'll show up to the WAC one day at the Biggs lobby, waiting to get in, and like you open up the door and there's just a melee going on. Everybody's just like throwing chairs and the tripods are flying. And it's like, this is the one day I wish I would have gotten here early.
If it hasn't happened in the media hospitality room at the bowl games yet, I don't know that it's going to happen. So, all right, last one. Best stadiums you have been to. I'm assuming this is a college football stadiums question, right?
Well, you could throw in the NFL stadiums. I don't think they're going to merit,
Yes, but I mean, we're not talking baseball stadiums or, yeah. Best stadiums we've been to. I mean, the Rose Bowl is always my answer. I love the Rose Bowl. It's my absolute favorite bowl game. It's my favorite place to watch a game. I've been to a lot of the big ones over the years. Notre Dame, Michigan, Penn State, all those obviously, Ohio State. Do you have? There's a bunch that I haven't been to. I'm looking forward to going to the Coliseum in LA, even though I know that's old. I'm kind of looking forward to that. I was really looking forward to going to Oregon and Washington, and I think the Washington trip just got canceled. It did, right? Yeah, the Washington trip just got canceled. That's another one I was looking forward to. I haven't been to Camp Randall in 20 years, so I'm looking forward to that one this year. Do you have a favorite of the ones you've been to?
Nebraska's always fun. I thought Iowa was pretty cool too. But I am looking forward to getting to Wisconsin. I was in the stands for the 2010 game, so I'm looking forward to covering that from the press box, because you always hear the stories about the terrified media during the jump around when the press box is shaking. So that'll be good. And of course, be my first game at Notre Dame. So I'm looking forward to seeing if that matches the hype. Because I just remember the first time I went to Ann Arbor, and you get into the big house and you're like, this does not match up with the hype. And one of the problems is it's dug into the ground and it's only like 2 stories tall, if that, story and a half maybe. And it was just like, I'm hoping Notre Dame lives up to the hype.
Yeah, Notre Dame. I have not been to Notre Dame in 15, maybe more than that, years. And I'm a little concerned Notre Dame may have a little bit of the Wrigley Field issue, where it's like, this is this incredible historical stadium, and now they've got huge TVs and they've modernized it too much. I'm interested to see, because again, the last time I was there was a Charlie Weiss era game, so it was, that had its own issues, but that's still one of those, you see touchdown Jesus, and it's a whole thing, and it's like, oh look, I'm here, look at that. I've been around the outside of Alabama and Georgia and LSU and Tennessee, but I've never actually gone in and seen a game there. I've been on all those campuses, but never for a game. I'm interested in seeing some of those at some point. We had a question, I think, on the last show about places that we'd love to go see a Ohio State playoff game. Those are kind of all on that list. But yeah, I think you'll enjoy Notre Dame if it has not changed too much. I think it's still a it's sort of an iconic spot that you will enjoy seeing a game. The next one is one we are not actually going to answer. We are going to acknowledge it here from our good friend El Suzabo. Compare and contrast / rate each room in the Ohio State versus Michigan matchup this season. How do they match up room for room? This is one we do every year. It's our Tale of the Tape show. We'll do a whole separate show on that coming up. So we'll get there. Next one from our buddy Josh at Propellerhead. Do you think this year we will see Devin Brown be allowed to go to town when he's in games with large leads versus handoff, punt?
I think yes. I think, and this is assuming Kyle McCord is the starter, but I do think that you not only need to get a quarterback up to speed, you want to get those receivers up to speed as well, because all of the backups may be starting next year. You could be losing, Marvin Harrison, Emeka Ibuka, Julian Fleming, Xavier Johnson. So as much experience as you can get the guys behind them, and not that they're going to be throwing bombs, but why can't they do what they did against Toledo last year, where Kyle McCord was throwing the ball 25 yards down the field to Jaden Ballard, and that's the one Jaden Ballard took and ran for 72 yards. Like that, that may have been like the 63rd point at that point. So I think you can go ahead and get guys up to speed as much as you feel comfortable doing, and actually a little beyond what you feel comfortable doing, because Ryan Day does not like to put points. He says he doesn't like to put points on teams. He'll do it with the starters. It's the backups that he doesn't necessarily like to do it with. But I think with the new starting quarterback, whoever that might be, you've got to get the other guy as ready as possible too, and as much experience as possible too, because like there isn't this long line of work that the other guy has that you're confident, oh, he's going to be fine, I know what to expect from him. So I think you want to see as much as possible from everybody for as long as you can see it.
Yeah, no question. And I think the other piece of that, in addition to all the stuff you just mentioned, the backup has, whoever it is, has access to the transfer portal. Don't you think you'd want to keep the backup as plugged in, as involved as possible? I would certainly think you would. And I think the thinking on, don't want to put up points with the backups, I think that's completely backwards. If you pull your starters out of the game and you're still running your offense, you're not running up the score. If you can't stop the backups, well, maybe you should stop scheduling this team. And if you're Rutgers and you can't stop this team, can't stop the backups, well, have you explored moving back to the Big East? Maybe UConn's looking for someone to have a play date with. Why don't you go play with UConn? I have a ball. Would you like to try and bounce it? Oop, got away from you there. And at some point, the other players, as Kevin says, have helmets and scholarships and pads too, and they have coaches who are getting paid too much money. And so if you can't stop it, well, that's not a me problem, that's a you problem. And if you can't stop the backups, well, that's fine. Try harder or get fired and bring in someone else who can at least compete with the backups. It can't be that hard. So I think for all of those reasons, you certainly should see Devin Brown or Kyle McCord, whoever the backup is. You should see that person getting more realistic action and more action that's going to prepare them better long term. I think you will. I know you should. I think you will.
Do you think there's also a need to going to Michigan? That's a game that they're not expecting to lose it, but you might lose that. So it might behoove you to have a bunch of blowout wins where you maybe score 14 points in the fourth quarter, as opposed to your opponent scoring 14 points in the fourth quarter, and you turn what could have been like a 56-14 game into a 42-28 game against a bad Rutgers team or something like that. I think it's okay to continue to just compile points, because you don't know how that Michigan game is going to turn out. And frankly, you don't know how that Wisconsin game is going to turn out. So try to look as good as possible, even if it's just box score good, as long as you can before something bad happens.
Exactly. Penn State game could turn out like that. Notre Dame game could turn out like that. Tony, they go to Purdue this year. Do you know they go to Purdue? Why am I mentioning that? Look, I don't know. No reason at all. It's just, I'm just mentioning another game on their schedule. Why do you ask?
Rondale Moore is not coming through that door, folks.
Probably. Greg Schiano's not coming through that door either. So, yeah, but I think to your point there, yes, you saw last year, you can get in with a loss to Michigan, and they were very, very close to beating Georgia, which would have been, congratulations, you're the national champions, even though you lost to Michigan about a month and a half ago. How different does life look like for Ryan Day right now if they're defending national champions? How many questions is he getting? Answer, none. About, why can't you do this? Why can't you do this? If you're the defending national champions, that answers all the questions that there are to be asked. So whatever you have to do to get into that 4-team tournament this year, you need to do it. And if that involves hurting Greg Schiano's feelings, wouldn't be the first time in the last 12 months.
Well, and I also think you can look at the experience that Xavier Johnson got throughout the season because of Jackson Smith-Njigba's injury. So then when he had to play against Georgia, he did well. Marvin Harrison goes down, and they really can't overcome that because you didn't have, Jaden Ballard wasn't playing during the season very much, or really anybody other than their core group. They weren't getting guys in the game. I think it's read about Jaden Ballard a couple recently, and he only really played snaps in like 2 of the last 6 games on offense. And yeah, those are maybe some of the tougher games, but if they're playing more and throwing more and just getting those guys more reps during the season, maybe somebody could have stepped up in Marvin Harrison's absence and allowed the rest of the offense to be okay, instead of just so much, just so much concentrated on the starters, and then one of them goes down. It just reminds me of trestle ball, like Brian Hartline is trestle balling his receivers by not playing more. And of course that's up to the guys to be ready for that. But, getting them ready throughout the course of a season when you have enough talent to beat everybody, I think you need to play more guys and longer and actually have them in the flow of the offense. So that way, if they get counted on, they're needed to come in a tough situation. It's not the first time they're doing it. And frankly, Jaden Ballard, got some clutch playing time against Notre Dame because Jackson Smith and Jigba got hurt in that game, so everybody had to move up some. And then Julian Fleming was out for that game as well. And then that was about it. And so I think the benefit of getting guys more experience outweighs the benefit of getting an angry text from a coach or seeing them at a golf outing, 3 months later, 6 months later, like, man, you really put it on us. And it's like, yeah, but we got our guys ready for the championship game. So sorry.
Yeah. Your job is to develop your players. Your job is not to protect other people's feelings, which, no one is saying you need to be running onside kicks up by 63 points or, the fake punt last year against Rutgers was obviously an uncalled. That was an automatic. So that was not something Ohio State did intentionally. That was just Jesse Mirko saw something and ran. But, you're not intentionally calling fake punts. You're not calling fake field goals up 63 points. But, your job is to get your guys ready. So you need to do what you need to do to get your guys ready. And, as to put this in Ryan Day terms, if you want to be ready for the games where the talent is equated, sometimes you got to do stuff you don't necessarily really want to do in the games where the talent isn't equated. There's a whole bunch of those, so make the most of them. You get 4 games with everyone, and you get as many games as you want with the guys who are not redshirting. Make the most of those opportunities where it's not just, oh look, they're showing up in the snap count list, like they're actually preparing and improving and getting ready. And at worst, you've got film to teach off of. At the very least, you have film to teach off of.
I would agree. Tom, anything else before we call this a day? Call it a show?
No, and we have many, many more questions still to come, so we'll have at least one more Buckeye Weekly show. I don't know. We'll have to look through. We may do more of these as Buckeyes Tomorrow Morning show or something. We'll figure it out, but you guys have been very generous with the questions. We're going to be as generous as we can with the answers because we appreciate all of your input and all your feedback on this stuff. And sometimes if a question is so good, we will spend an entire week talking about it, as we have in the past. But that's not to say if we don't spend an entire show on your question, it's not any good. We're talking about it, aren't we? Relax. Ohio State beat writer Royal Rumble Week on the Buckeye Weekly podcast. Who says no? Just, you show up for one media outing or availability, and somebody will just corner you like, why'd you have me an 11 seed? What's that? What's up with that? And it's like, you're just on everybody's crap list for not even for, yeah, but I had you winning. I had you 11 over a 6. Yeah, but you had me in an 11. I should have been a 4. Like, yeah, but I would have had you losing to a 13, scrappy Pat Murphy. Like, he would have taken you out, But anyway, want to thank you all. And see, Pat, I'm going to get a text. You had me as a 13 seed? It's just an example. Anyway, want to thank you all for joining us. Please find us at BuckeyeHuddle.com. Become a member. Say hello to us there on the forum there, and we're chatting it up. Recruiting event coming up this month. Mark Givler's having his chat on Tuesday, so there's plenty going on right now. And of course, Tom's there, I'm there, Kevin's there. We're all there. There's X's and O's going on as well. So find us there. Find us at youtube.com/BuckeyeHuddle. Find us at facebook.com/BuckeyeHuddle. And MySpace, no. Is that
No MySpace. I'm being told no MySpaces. We'll work on that one. So thank you all for tuning in, and we'll talk to you guys later.